Welcome back to Corsair Leader. Okay, so a night has come and gone, and in fact most of the day is already gone, Saturday the 6th. I have been on this since this morning, but to be honest, I got so hung up on the rules for how to do dogfighting, and then the people in Board Game Geek were giving me some insight and we were discussing various things. I was at a point where I wasn't comfortable making this video, but I think I'm at a spot now where I'm very satisfied with my understanding, and I took the time to pick my pilots, which was not a trivial task and is going to be very time consuming, but it was still fun. One thing I got wrong in the last video, the campaign sheets show you which aircraft are available. So remember I said you look at the year. So you know how it says anything that's within that year is available? I was wrong. Apparently Corsair Leader does restrict your aircraft even more. So I had a big stack of cards here saying that they were all available, but as you can see, there's a whole bunch of plane types that are even available in 1945 that are not available for this mission. So for whatever reason, they're just not on our carrier or whatever. Another strange thing is you'll notice that it says that the Dauntless is available in 1945. And if you look at the Dauntless is 1944. There is no 1945 on it. So I actually posted on Board Game Geek about it. I was confused. I thought maybe there was some kind of printing error. No one's actually responded yet. So the rulebook does say that a rule on the campaign sheet trumps anything in the rulebook. So if it says that a Dauntless is available, even though it's not 1945, then gosh darn it, it's available. I guess my question for Dan Burson Games, if any of them ever watch this, is why do we list the years on here at all? I mean, if every campaign sheet just lists what aircraft you can use, then we don't need this anymore. This is like useless information. So I guess that's the one thing that threw me for a loop. But we're going to play where that was the intent, and so here's what I did. I picked, there's 4 Dauntless pilots. I picked all 4 because the name of the game is destroying targets, and I want to destroy as many targets as I can, and these are my dedicated bombers. I did pick 2 TBF Avengers, Bear Grimmond, who I actually know in the Solitaire Wargaming group. I've chatted with him many times, and also Jericho Baker, who is also part of our group. So welcome, guys. Thank you for always helping out. And then, of course, Black Shoe Benson is the 4th Dauntless. I picked some UK Corsairs. So I have Paxton and Alexander. And then I picked Dougie Wong, also from the group. And he's in here as well. He's one of the Corsairs for the Americans. And then I picked Mad Cartographer. And the one that seems to me to be the beast of the game is Sakamoto. I just looked at his cards and I'm like, man, this is the most amazing pilot of everybody. Now, one thing that's interesting is when I do this, I'll show you a little trick I do. This number that's written next to everybody's name, that number represents how many experience points I need to go from newbie all the way to legendary. So you can see Sakamoto needs 47 experience points to go from newbie to legendary, whereas somebody like Grimmond only needs 22. So it's a huge difference. And when you're picking your pilot, make sure you keep that in mind. So what I did was I picked Sakamoto. That's not a problem. And then the next thing that the rules explain is we're doing a long campaign. So I need to have 1 newbie, 2 green, 6 average, 2 skilled, and 1 veteran. Well, this was an easy choice. So who do I pick to be my veteran? There's 2 ways to look at it. One is you want somebody with good skills to be your veteran. And then the second one is you want to pick somebody who takes forever to level up. So this guy who needs 47 experience points became my veteran. So it was an easy choice. You may also have noticed that I skipped somebody. I picked William Case here. He is from the expansion pack, the Corsair Leader Aces expansion pack, so we're going to try it out. In picking him, I had to spend 6 SO points, and that's denoted here with the -6, okay? And then he comes automatically with these 2 skills, and he is legendary from the start, and you know, his stats aren't going to change or anything like that. Now, there are some legendary ace pilots that have way better skills than this, so his skills are a little on the lower side, but here was my logic. First of all, we get to try the expansion pack. So part of the video is we're going to see how the expansion pack, you know, fits in, and so you're going to get to see that. And remember, the pilots have the little black bar on the top. The other thing that is sort of cool is I looked at his cost. His cost is 6. Well, it costs 3 points to get 1 skill, and he comes in the game with 2 skills for free as part of that 6. So basically, I was able to hire this guy for free. And, you know, he's just, you know, if I would have bought these 2 skills, I would have spent 6 SO points. So I now have a legendary pilot who I don't need to worry about leveling up. His experience points, I get to give out like candy to all my other pilots as long as they're with him. And he has 2 skills that come with him. I mean, to me, this was a no-lose situation. And it counts as one of my average. So remember, we had to do, you know, when you're doing this distribution, he counts as one of those 6. So I was still able to pick a veteran and 2 skilled pilots. For the skilled pilots, I picked a Corsair because I believe that air-to-air combat is very important, just like in real life. Your bombers can't do anything if you can't clear the skies. So that's my logic from other leader games. We'll see if it applies here. So Mad Cartographer is skilled, and again, I went after the ones that looked like they would take the most experience points. And then I picked a bomber to be skilled because I do need at least 1 good bomber in my lineup. And what's funny is this particular one is not all that great. You know, this one's just as good and he's average, and in fact his dive ability is even better. Now, you might be thinking, okay, what made you choose one over another? In all leader games, I value cool more than just about anything else. I usually look for a cool value and for their air-to-air or air-to-ground to be at +3. Those 2 combined are usually what I look for. So, of course, in this case, when he becomes a legendary, he will have a +3 air-to-ground, or I'm pretty sure he'll be darn close, because that's usually what I look for. In this case, I actually took all of the Dauntless bombers. There's not a single one that I did not take in the game. And anyways, I made him skilled largely because of the principle of how many experience points he needs to level up. But he's not that fantastic, even at a skilled level. And then, you know, you can just see the other ones. I'm starting off with a +1, a +0, +1, +0. Here it's a +2, which is really good. And you can see he's green. So at the green level, he has a better air-to-ground than this guy at skilled. So that's another thing. It's really hard and subtle, but some of these pilots are really good early. And so even though if you're just looking at their legendary card, you may think, well, why is this one better than that one? Well, this one is really good even at green, whereas this guy's all the way up to skilled and he's not even as good. So, you know, there's things like that. There's so much analysis paralysis you can get into. Paxton is my other green. He is my air-to-air guy, but I had to pick another one. And I picked him because he seems to level up pretty fast. So his is more for the fact that it doesn't take a lot of experience points to get him moving up. Then, of course, I put an average, and I talked about my veteran and skilled already. So I did want to show something. I ran into this, and there's actually quite a few pilots like this, and it does make you laugh. So this is Floyd Salerno. He is a Kickstarter backer, as we can see here. So this is his legendary card. You can see his air-to-air is 0, his air-to-ground is 0, his situational awareness and his gung-ho are both 0, and he gets 1 cool. Those are pretty pedestrian, mediocre numbers there. Well, let's compare it to like Dougie Wong here. He's at an average. He's already better air to air. His cool's already there. You know, his gung ho's better. When you look at their legendary card, let me get out Dougie's legendary card. So you can get out his legendary card. His cool is better. Situational awareness is better. His gung ho is better. He gets +3 to his air to air. The only thing that this guy has as an advantage over him is he's fast and he's slow. So that's a heck of a price to pay to have a fast fighter. The other interesting thing is, their experience points for leveling up. I thought, well, maybe that's different. No, it's not. So anyways, you know, pound for pound, a pilot like, you know, Dougie here is better. And you know, and remember, there's a rule where you can randomly select these. So this is a nice challenge if you ever get this one. And so whoever you are, Floyd Salerno, if you ever watch this video and you decide to play as your own person, I wish you luck, and you're going to definitely need some help. But you know what? You can do it. This game's balanced for any pilot you pick. So, anyways, I have my piles here. The UK Corsairs I separated from the Corsairs that are American, and I'm just moving all these out of the way. The Avengers, like I told you, I took 2. Okay, one plane that was available for this mission I did not take was the B-25 Mitchell. I didn't take it because the cost for one of these is 12. I may regret that. I don't know. 12 points is a lot of SO points for a plane, and I was able to get this guy for 6, and I just felt I'd rather spend 6 for this than 12 for this. And anyways, I may regret it. They do look like pretty darn cool planes, but I chose not to take one for this mission. The other thing is that you get to promote a pilot. So based on their skill level, you get to promote them. And another thing worth noting is that William Case here is legendary. And remember, he was one of my averages. He gets to count as an average. So promoting an average to a legendary would cost, you know, 15 and 18. So, you know, that's like, what, 33 SO points. I got that for 6 SO points, right? I spent 6 SO points and I took an average and made him a legendary from the start. So that's another way to look at these expansion cards. Now, I did actually exercise it. I had a newbie. I was required to put one newbie, and you might be wondering, who is he? It was Grimmond, but I paid the 6 SO points here to make Grimmond a green pilot. I don't like having newbies. Newbies have huge penalties. So I'm going to keep this handy because we're going to need this throughout the game. And of course, my campaign sheet is updated with everybody. I do need to write in, like I did with Case here. Case has a legendary. See, I put the L there. I need to put everybody else's stuff in. I forgot to do that before I hit record here. The other thing I did is I went through and looked at all these numbers, and I created a target card deck. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push all my pilots off my board and get them situated so we can get this game started. I forgot to go over skills. I did buy a lot of skills, as you may have noticed. I like skills. Thank you, Kevin, for making my analysis paralysis even worse. I'll go over those in a second. The one thing I don't like with all these skills is you have all these little tokens that you have to manage. But, so I did get some skills. So for Jericho here, he chatted with me on Facebook today, so I gave him +1 cool because he's cool. And his cool value I think even at Legendary, it only becomes a 1. So he will have 2 cool by the time he's Legendary. Right now he has 1. And then I gave him the Brave ability, which everything's on this sheet here. Brave means he gets 1 experience point for every point of stress he suffers. So anytime he takes stress, he's going to get an experience point. And he's a bomber, so I figured he's probably going to get shot at by anti-aircraft guns, things like that. And so if he takes stress, you get an experience point, and since he has +1 cool, he can get rid of the stress at the end of the turn. So I thought that was a good combo. We'll see how it plays out. Also, I told you Sakamoto is quite a beast. He's my veteran, so I gave him Fighter Pilot and Agile. Okay, remember the rules say you can pick 2 skills for each pilot, so that's what I did. Fighter Pilot gives him +1 to his gun attack rolls, so that's, you know, air-to-air combat. And then Agile means he can go evasive without suffering stress. So if anybody ever tries to shoot at him, he can go into evasive mode, which means we get to roll 2 dice and pick the worst of the dice for the enemy, which is the most advantageous for us. So it's a way to keep him alive. And so he can basically go in evasive anytime he wants. He's going to be our dogfighting guru. All right, and then Lucky and Gung Ho came with Case. That was not my choice. It's just part of the package. And Gung Ho gives him 1 Gung Ho point. So even though this says 0, he really has 1. And Lucky means it's an expendable one. I'm not a big fan of expendable ones, meaning it's once per campaign. So once I use it, it's gone. But if he were ever to get destroyed, I can save him, basically. It's a, resurrection spell. And I get to treat it as 2 stress instead. So that's another cool thing about him. So if he ever gets himself in a sticky wicket, he can survive it. I did get Amicable for Dougie Wong. That's sort of an inside joke there. Yes, he is amicable. So when he goes on a mission, he gets to pick another pilot to take 1 less stress during homebound. So that's cool. And then I picked a bomber here, Walker. And I gave him Quick Hands and Alert. And what Alert does is once per mission, if a bandit attacks him, he gets to subtract 2 from the roll. Keeps him alive a little bit longer. And then Quick Hands, I think is, he gets +1 to his air-to-ground rolls against the target. So remember, the target are these cards, not against, sites, which are, I know these are bombers, but the red tokens don't count. So, okay, I think that's everything. And when you are done with this phase, these extra skill tokens are out of the game. You can't ever buy them for any reason, so you just set them aside and they're out of the game. Now, I also explained that Gung Ho does 3 things and I couldn't remember. Well, the 3 things are, your pilot, accumulates stress and he becomes okay, and then if he gets enough stress, he becomes shaken, and eventually if he gets 9 or more stress, he would become unfit. You can spend a Gung Ho point to pretend that he's okay the entire mission. So basically he ignores his stress value. Okay, that's one way to spend Gung Ho points. So this guy would have 1 Gung Ho point on him, and then he would spend it like that, and then it would stay that way until the event that lets you recharge them triggers, and I haven't explained that yet. Okay, so that's one way to use it. Another way to use it is you can just use 1 to get an automatic 10 when you're rolling the dice. So you want to hit something and you want to hit it badly. You don't want to roll the dice. You can just spend 1 and get an automatic 10. So that's pretty sweet. The third one is if you ever get destroyed, it's you can use this to save yourself from getting destroyed, which is very similar to the Lucky ability that he has. So you can use these as like Lucky tokens. Now, I keep mentioning that they recharge at a specific time. They recharge if, so see, these are the target cards that are not in this campaign. I'm not going to touch the ones that are in it. There's some keywords at the bottom, and eventually, one of them is going to say Gung Ho. And when they do, if we destroy a Gung Ho target, then we get to, here it is. I found one. Sorry, I'm doing this all with one hand. Right here, this major airfield. See how it says gung-ho right here? If we destroy this airfield, we would get 4 victory points. Our recon and intel markers would move to the right this number of spaces. And then that gung-ho means all of our pilots get to replenish their gung-ho. So if you didn't spend your gung-ho points, too bad, too sad. If you spent all of them, you get to recharge all of them immediately, like right at that point. That's how you recharge your gung-ho points. So however many gung-ho targets there are in the game, you know, I don't even know, I didn't check. But you could look at all of those targets and really study the deck if you wanted before you shuffled it. That's an option. I didn't bother, not too worried about it. But it is something that you can start to factor into your decision making. Okay, so from a setup perspective, this skill chart is just handy to have nearby in case you forget what a skill does. And I think we're ready to go. So from a campaign setup, we did everything we need to do, and we can get cracking. Yes. Okay, so I know I'm trying to explain the rules as I go, and there are some optional rules we're going to skip for now, just because I don't want to burden myself with learning even more. Like this looks really cool here. We have a carrier operations sheet, and you get to do some carrier stuff. I will probably be adding that at some point, but not in this campaign. So let's just do the introductory campaign and get going. So one other thing, always pay attention here. We're going to lose a victory point for every aircraft that we have that gets destroyed. That's not good. And so the first thing we do is we draw target cards. How many target cards do you draw? It's based on your recon value, which is 2. So you draw them one at a time, and you don't have to draw 2. You can draw 1 and just stop. Some cards are going to have penalties on them that are going to like be active for as long as that card is out, meaning that so for example, it could say you're going to get a -1 to all your air-to-air rolls. So until you destroy that target, you're always going to have a -1. And so you don't want to just draw cards to your max all the time. During a mission, let me bring this out. We are on day 1, and this is a 9-day campaign. So, and I have that listed there. So we're going to go 9 days, and you only get to have 1 target per day. However, some targets have the keyword secondary written on them. So if you can have a primary target and a secondary target. So that means you're going to have at most 2 targets a day. Okay, never more than 2. Now, whatever pilots I put on one mission to one target can't be on the mission to the other target. So if I'm doing 2 targets in one day, I have to split my pilots accordingly. And that's important. And then the last thing is you know how we were talking about you get these rewards where the things shift? If you're doing 2 targets a day, you don't shift any of your counters until both targets have been resolved. So it's not like you can pick one target first and then, you know, destroy it and then move the counters and then enjoy the benefit for the second target. It doesn't work that way. So we're ready to start day 1. I am realizing I didn't write down my promotion level, and so forgive me. I do need to get this done, and in fact, I will just do that offline, and we're at 24 minutes. I'll go ahead and stop. Thanks for watching.